Hello, all my quarantine people, and welcome back to Conquer Fitness. No excuses, per usual. Absence has been long yet again, and I know with us all being trapped at home, I'm sure all of you are well on YouTube at a higher than normal amount of time. I can say that is the same for myself. That being said, I've completed school, so my timing has also freed itself up a little more to re-engage with you guys. Now, I've had time to go through comments, and I appreciate everyone interacting with me, and it's so nice to see all the positive comments, and it does affect me sometimes when I do see the comments about what some of you are going through, and it is unfortunately far worse than what I go through on a fair amount of people that I have read their comments. And I thought to myself, what would be something that would be well discussed? Because I know that there are those of you out there who have circumstances and conditions that are worse, and some of them that are just, there's nothing you can do. You know, you're regularly in pain, discomfort, you're held back, you're limited far beyond what I can comprehend. And for those of you, you know, I feel for you, I do, because I couldn't imagine it being more detrimental than what I have to deal with. But that being said, for those of you in the middle ground who have talked about this or that with this discomfort, this pain, this inability to do X, Y, or Z because I feel like my spine affects me, I thought to myself, I think the best thing to discuss with you guys based on what I have experienced is pain and what can be done to figure out what is the source of that pain, and in turn how you can instill self-therapy to either alleviate or reduce that pain and allow yourself to be in a more comfortable state and maybe allow you to do more than you thought you could from a fitness standpoint. Now, that being said, I decided this topic would be well placed here because I can do it within the comfort of my home, like most videos. But there's nothing here about any kind of workouts because obviously a lot of you are unable to go to the gym. I am. The gyms have been closed for 5 weeks or so, and it's been very difficult. But I also have noticed through doing home workouts and doing different variations of exercises that my body may not be used to, some discomforts have arose with me and in my back. And it reminded me that it took a little bit of time for me to figure out what exactly helped me push through those and not get stuck. So without further ado, let's go through a couple points I have laid out. Let's see if I can get this thing out of the glare. There we go. Now, these are just, I guess, in order, the 4 major steps I have learned helped me to solving any back pain or discomfort or any injury that has kind of displayed itself throughout my fitness career, or just day to day, you know, going out and taking a walk or playing basketball or anything that would make something flare up. Now, number 1 is the most important. I think I've preached this to you all before, is don't assume it's the spine. That is the easiest thing and the strongest misconception through anybody with scoliosis, because you think, okay, I have a spine that's not symmetrical, it's not balanced, it's all over the place. So anytime my back hurts, it must be my spine. And that is far from the truth, because truth be told, it's very uncommon that it would be anything to do with, say, a nerve, a pinched nerve, a disc, a herniated disc, anything. You know, you would know if that was it, because it would be really, it would be inflicting a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and really restricting a lot of your mobility. So with that being said, first things first is just, okay, take yourself out of anything to do with your spine, and let's think of your whole back and whole body as a whole. So next, I like to determine the source. So are you feeling the pain up top in your shoulders? Are you feeling it in your lumbar all the way down to your hips? Where is this pain kind of resonating from that would give you the idea that, oh, it must be my spine? Now, I do this through a couple of things. I do it through foam rolling, which self-myofascial release is, I'm sure you guys have seen any of the foam rolling. You can use medicine balls, tennis balls, anything that allows you to kind of massage yourself harder than you'd be able to with hand pressure. So I found that using my foam roller, which I highly recommend you invest in, they're not expensive off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. it is probably my strongest tool and my best ally throughout. Anytime I have any tightness or discomfort on my back, that is the best way to at least help me determine what really might be the source of my pain. So after you've done that, stretching is very important, because stretching is what's going to release. Self-myofascial release is going to help you if you're having spasms. It's going to help you release the lactic acid and kind of release the tension of that muscle that is in like overcompensation mode. So once it's been released, you're going to allow it to get back to its normal form by stretching it, because something has happened for an overcompensation and it's retracted or it's shrunk or it's gotten itself in a much tighter position. So once you've got it to release, you're going to elongate it and put it back into its normal comfortable position by static or dynamic stretching. Now, I can't sit here and go into all stretches right now. That might be another video. If there's specific stretches, they're all over YouTube and other videos, but stretching is going to be what's going to help you put your muscles back into their natural state, because 9 times out of 10, that's what's causing you the pain. Now, the next step, once you've done a little bit of, I guess, investigating and a little bit of therapy, would be to correlate your curves with imbalances. Now, this is where you're going to start. This is going to be the fix, and this is where you're going to start keeping this corrected long term, because guarantee it's the issue you're having sources from your spine, but isn't necessarily your spine. So for example, I'm going to kind of talk about myself for a minute in this step, because this is where I can tell you guys that based on my personal experiences, because that's all I can do at this point through this channel, is tell you guys what I have learned and I have experienced through my condition and through a lot of trial and error. So I have a curve, I think I've showed you guys before. The top goes, it's like S, the top goes over to my left side of my body and the bottom goes over to my right. So in turn, I have my rib cage sticks out farther over here, and everything is just pushed a little over to the left side of my upper torso. And then at the bottom, everything's opposite, and then my spine kind of enters my hips at an angle. And so in turn, that has allowed me to think about, all right, this is where it's hurting. Why? What about the positioning of my current anatomy in my back is causing this imbalance? Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is the #1 cause of almost any discomforts, pains, or injuries you may have, is that your body is having to do different corrections than the average person. If your spine is curved and there's angles that are not natural to a straight spine, then in turn you're having imbalances, and other muscles are overcompensating, some are undercompensating, overdeveloping, underdeveloping, getting too tight. And so in turn, what you really need to focus on is playing a little bit of doctor to yourself and determining, okay, because my spine does this, then in turn, this muscle probably is doing this, which in turn is what's causing me pain. Now, that helps a great deal with allowing you to, in the long term, kind of compensate for what your body is going to do and what you're naturally going to, what postures you're naturally going to take, and so on and so forth. So this is important to determine what your body is doing based on what curve and what spine position you have. Lastly, this kind of ties in again with longevity for determining the source and what things you should do to correct it. This one is basically going to help you keep it that way. So for example, I got inspired to do this video recently because due to the fact that my spine enters at an angle to my hips, my hip flexor on my left side constantly gets tight, and it has been for the last couple days. And I found a great video, I'll link it in the description below, that shows that shows what you can do, a really good technique to help it loosen. Because for any of you who have like just lower back pain, I'm talking way down, like where your hips are, either one side or the other, I guarantee you it's your hip flexor. Now that's a very difficult circumstance because that connects to your back all the way up to the front of your hip. So again, it's not even really, it's a back pain because it's pulling on the back of your hip, but you're gonna fix it by doing self-myofascial release and stretching from the front. Again, that's what I'm talking about, how important it is to really correlate what you have and determine the source and do the corrections that might not necessarily even have to do with anything around your back. Every time I do this, it fixes. I've 100% determined that is the problem. I said, okay, it's not my spine. I figured out it has to be through my hip because I can feel it from the back mostly, but also through the front. So I do the proper self-myofascial release, and I do static stretching to help loosen it and get it back in normal state, and it fixes the problem. So again, through all these exact steps, more or less, I'm able to fix back pains. And again, like that one has nothing to do with my spine. It does, but it's not sourced from my spine. So self-therapy is very important. You know, you don't have to go to the doctor every time you have discomfort. If you can at least determine through some of these steps what you may have, a lot of times you just need to get yourself loosened up, and an overcompensating muscle needs to be relaxed, reduce the spasming, get it stretched out. And last but not least, awareness. Remember what you have. I also, with the curve up top, I tend to lift this shoulder higher, and then I feel like I have tremendous discomfort back in my shoulder blade, but really it's this trap muscle up here of my neck is constantly holding the shoulder up. And so as long as I can keep this loose and relaxed and massage, I usually use a tennis ball, it solves the problem. It's just, you know, you gotta be a little bit of a detective sometimes and just not assume that it's always the worst. So I thought just the personal experience is the only thing I can really preach to you guys about scoliosis, because that's all I have. You know, I've had it through a long time, and I've been able to still continue my fitness regimen strong. And a huge obstacle always will be for all of us is going to be injuries or pains or discomforts or things that hold you back from being able to do something you may want to do, fitness or exercise related. So the biggest takeaway here today is to just not let yourself get caught up every time you get hurt, every time you feel an ache or pain, and to make sure that you remember that you have more power than you think you do, and that thing, that ache, that pain, that tightness, that discomfort, it might be something way less than you think it is, and also might be something way far away from the spine. I'm telling you, sometimes it can be a knee. Your knee could be actually having a problem, or it could be too tight, or your hamstring, which is again causing you to contort your hips in a certain way, which again will cause you lower back pain. Trial and error, move around, you know, stretch, self-myofascial release, roll everything, quads, hams, get yourself, you know, in a better state, and just don't worry about it. Relax and realize that you are in control. It's your body before you take that big step and commit to the doctor or physical therapy or something like that. But anyway, I think that's about all I got for you guys today. I hope everyone is staying safe and at home. And I know all of you probably miss the gym just as much as I do. I'm hoping we can get back to it. And I hope everyone is staying healthy as possible. Great to see you guys again. I will hopefully have another video out sooner than later now that school has been completed and I'm at home. Well, y'all be safe, and as always, conquer.